this is going to be a weird video because I will demoing and reviewing at the same time some Glossier stuff. We have the Glossier Stretch Fluid Foundation, the Stretch Balm Concealer, we have the Cloud Paints, Balm Dotcom, and the Boy Brow. I hope I didn't forget anything. No, I didn't. Please do not be scared by two different eye colors that I'm currently wearing, because I just filmed this look basically that I'm wearing for a shorts with the brand Hanex. The contact lens that I'm wearing on this eye is the shade Hidrocor Grey from Hanex. I don't even know if you can tell here in the little container because it's so light. My eyes with this color turn into a naturally like fading green to blue color, which is really interesting, and I just again filmed the look to just show what it looks with this contact, what it looks without. If you want to purchase them, you can save 25% with my code EllaKinkley. Very shameless plug, although it's not about the contact lens today, but I just thought, let's put it in, it's business. So in case you're interested, I actually like them. So now let's move on to the reviews of the different Glossier products. Okay, let's at first, of course, talk about the Glossier Stretch Foundation. So color matching me in this foundation was a pain, I'm honest with you, because I went through the quiz of the website and it told me to go for very light 1. Then I went to other websites that do this, like foundation.com. You have a foundation matrix online. There are so many online shade matching tools nowadays that it's just insane. And why though? Everything just was like either very light 1, some were recommending very light 3, very light 2, not so much, because I think that is the one with the cool undertones. And then I, of course, looked at the shade descriptions and I was even more confused. Because very light 1 is described as very light with neutral undertones, while very light 3 is described as very light with yellow undertones. But when I then see the swatches side by side, it just looks like very light 1 is just a light yellow and the other one is a darker yellow. And I honestly had the same struggles with the concealer. I don't know who designed this, I don't know who made the swatches, but they are not very helpful on the website, honestly. So I eventually then ended up with actually very light 1 in both the foundation and the concealer. So it comes with a classic 30 ml and it is a very, normal foundation texture, I'd say. It's not runny, it's more stiff, and it's just, as I said, a normal foundation. There is nothing super special in the texture about it. You can already see here in that blended out swatch that this is probably one shade too light for me, and maybe the undertones aren't even matching too. So I swatched my two favorite foundations in the full coverage range underneath. So the darker one is 1N0 from Estee Lauder Double Wear, and then we have NC10 in MAC Studio Fix Fluid. Funny enough is that when I blend out Estee Lauder, it matches my skin perfectly, so I'm a bit confused. Why does it look so dark here on my skin? Number 3 now is the Lisa Eldridge Foundation, the Seamless Skin Foundation, not the tint, Seamless Skin Foundation in the shade 4. The next one is the Tom Ford Architecture Soft Matte in the shade 01 Cameo. Honestly, I'm kind of questioning why I have 1N0 and the shade 4 from Lisa Eldridge. They look so yellow and darker on the skin, but once blended in the face, they don't look like that anymore. But just to choose a couple more popular foundations here, it is too light. A tad bit too light, but it's also not a super full coverage foundation, so I can make it work. So I take a bit of the foundation and then just dot it all over my face, and I think you can immediately see this is too light. But again, not very full coverage, so it's blending out quite easy. As base today for this foundation review, I am wearing the Dolce & Gabbana Bergamot Glowing Blur Primer. What's the full name of this? Bergamot Lasting Makeup and Glow Enhancer. That is the description. Bergamot Glow Primer, just like that. And for a bit of additional glow, I'm wearing the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Elevated Glow. It is quite easy to blend out. I do have to say though that it didn't matter what primer I used this foundation with, it kind of does not dry down. Especially on the nose, I could sit now with freshly applied unpowdered foundation for the next 15 or 20 minutes. And when I then touch my nose, it will slide off immediately. And this had nothing to do with the primers that I tested it with. It is just the foundation. It does not dry. And I don't know how I feel about this, because you can now say, yeah, but this happens to other foundations too. Actually not, or at least not this heavy. And I feel like Casper, the unfriendly bitch ghost now. So as per usual, I take a dampened sponge and now I tap over mainly the center. And even with the sponge, the foundation comes off. So honestly, I don't know if other people apply this foundation exclusively with a sponge, but I do not recommend it. So I took some leftover foundation from my plate and I just try to build up the coverage here on the nose. It just comes off so easy. It's like slippery and sliding around. Once set with powder, no problem. This foundation lasts my whole workday and looks pretty fine. This will not bring me to the 16-hour mark and still look fucking good, like for example a Estee Lauder Double Wear does, but these are also completely different formulations. So now for the concealer, the stretch concealer I also have in VL1, and this is a very, very creamy, borderline waxy feeling concealer, honestly. So let me just put a stripe swatch again here on top. So this is what the concealer looks like. And now let's just compare the concealer to some that I also use on my under eye. For example, the Made by Mitchell Balm concealer in the shade BB3 is one of my favorites for under the eyes, and they are not that far away from each other. In direct comparison here between the VL1 from Glossier and BB3 from Made by Mitchell, I think VL1 has more like a paint looking character, white paint character. Oh my god. So let's just for the lols also take BB1. This has, according to the brand, olive undertones, but I think we can all agree on that. Olive in Made by Mitchell is sadly yellow. Then we have the Makeup by Mario concealer, the Surreal Skin Awakening concealer in the shade 120. That one is also so much more yellow. Let's take House Labs. This is their concealer. I think they only have one and it doesn't say it here. In the shade 01 Fair. It's also so much more yellow than the other one, although this is fair neutral in House Labs. Then we have the Natasha Denona High Glam Concealer in the shade RN1. That comes close actually. So of course the Natasha Denona is much more built up. The Glossier one is very, very sheer coverage. Personally, I can wear all of these concealers on my under eye. I have, well, aside from the BB1, that one I use on my face actually. But the others I use on the under eye, and I mainly pair them with the Bobbi Brown light bisque porcelain bisque corrector. But for you today, I apply the Glossier concealer without the corrector because actually, you see, it's so light, a corrector is not needed. Same with the BB3 shade from Made by Mitchell. When I use this on my under eye, no corrector is needed. This is bright enough. So I use the Rose Ink Concealer brush. I swipe it through the product and then I just apply this here. I definitely took a bit too much concealer, but that's not a problem because I basically just slap it on and then I use either my foundation sponge but with the more pointier side, or I currently just have this mini sponge from Real Techniques open and I just go over it and blend it out. Not very high coverage, very, very sheeny as you can tell. I know this is for sure not a fair comparison because this is a foundation, this is a concealer. I don't think you can rank them in any kind, but actually if I was able to go back in time and choose again what to buy from Glossier, I would skip the foundation. I like it. I think it's a beautiful one. And when you see the finished result, it will look beautiful. And it will look beautiful for hours and it feels light, not very heavy. So it's also a good like if you care about that. Summer foundation without being just a light skin tint, because this has some coverage to it, but I would actually maybe only get the concealer if I was able to choose again. The concealer is just very, very hydrating. So if you have a problem maybe with too dry, I have a hair again here in my upper lip. If you have a problem with maybe very dry under eyes, this could be a good solution, but so is the Balm concealer from Made by Merchel. So this one is 27 euro. Let me check on the website, but I think it is 27. Yes, the concealer is 27 bucks. You can also get it in a set with the foundation together, then you save some money, but 27, and this is less than 20. I was totally interrupted by a call from my parents, so I don't know what I said last, but I think I said that if you have the choice between the Glossier Stretch Balm Concealer and maybe the Made by Merchel Balm Concealer, because they're at the end very similar in formulation, I honestly lean more towards the Made by Merchel one. Not only price-wise, it is significantly cheaper, but also formula-wise. I don't know why, but I just prefer this one over this. They're both hydrating and moisturizing on the under eye area, but I think just the Glossier one is maybe a tad bit too much. Maybe it's just for me a bit too much, and I can totally see how others love this. I just checked. I mean, it hasn't creased badly. That is a big, big pro. I do have this one very, very deep crease on my under eye. Usually, I just let it sit, everything, do my face cream shit, and then I blend out again before I set it down. But this looks quite nice. So I can see that this maybe is something that you can wear even without setting the concealer, if you dare to. I never would, but yeah, just my personal opinion. Stay time wise, the concealer performs as good as the foundation. Stay time, staying power. And it wouldn't be a Glossier video if we're not talking about the cloud paints. I was thinking of getting one of the bronzer or contour shades too, but after I saw some comparison swatches on Reddit and in other videos, I decided to skip, because I feel like the shade that I was kind of eyeing, it was a shade Sail, looked way too warm, but it looked very cool tone on the website. So I don't have it now, but I decided to get 4 shades of the OG blushes, and what's quite cool, you can do like sets. So when you always buy a duo, you save, I don't know, like 10% or so. So the shades that I got was Wisp, Spark, oh, Spark is delicious, Eve, and Haze. This might be a super unpopular opinion, but I personally hate this packaging. Because when you squeeze too hard, the product squirts out and you are left with so much wasted product. I mean, it comes with 10 ml, so it is a fucking lot in here. But again, I just wish that we could have gotten maybe this like tube packaging, but with a tiny doe foot. That would be better. So the first shade that I'm showing you is the shade Wisp. Beautiful, cool toned lilac. Next up, we have the shade Haze. Haze I actually haven't used yet. I just didn't came along. See, it already squirts out because there is some pressure inside the tube. So I'm just wasting product while using it. So here we have Haze. Oh, this is even better. Maybe I should use Haze today. It looks like something I could drink. Then we have Eve. Again, too much came out. And yes, I know it looks super dark for me, but I love dark blushes like that. You know that. It looks freaking stunning. And my fave is Spark so far, because it is basically a bright red blush. And do you know what I love? Bright red blushes. I am kind of tempted to actually use Eve again today. Again, with these blushes, I think Glossier needs someone who is doing their product shoots better, because in the swatch picture on the website, for example, Haze and Eve look so similar. Of course, it is probably because when you blend these out, they will not look like that. They blend out in a super nice, sheer, borderline wash of color on your face, so very variable. But again, I want to see a color potential. It is fine to give me a blended out swatch, but give me a real look at the color too, please. You know what? I'm using Eve. If you wonder how you can use these, what I do is I have a mixing plate here on my table. I dab basically something on that mixing plate, and then I take my Rare Beauty blush brush like that. I don't want to pick up the mixing plate because there is some other like mixing shit on there now. And I basically tap the brush in. I have now too much on the brush, so I tap on a bit of a free space on that mixing plate to just distribute the color better. And then I just start to apply this on the cheeks. And this is what I mean by wash of color. They just blend out very, very pretty, very effortless kinda, but they still maintain the intense color that you get without looking like an actual paint on your face. Of course, it accentuates now the little pimple that I have on my nose, but that's not a problem. I'm just a human, so don't mind that. I, of course, also had to get the Boy Brow. I just remember that when Glossier popped up and Boy Brow was a thing on YouTube, that I was so fucking jealous that people were able to use Boy Brow and were able to grab it and I wasn't. So I picked up the shade Grey, which is, well, when we just look at my hair color, maybe just a very, very clear choice. And I have used this now a couple times, and let me tell you that to me the Boy Brow does absolutely nothing. But I also have to kind of say some things about my brows. I have, as you have seen in the previous shots now for the other product demos, nearly invisible brows. So that my brows look like that, I actually have to fill them in first with a pencil. I'm currently using, and please do not gasp, do not get a heart attack, do not fall off your stool, bad or whatever, the e.l.f. Instant Brow Lift. Yes, drugstore, I know. Please stop asking. My brows are so invisible that I need to give them color. So I am pretty sure that according to what I've seen, and when I just think about the whole aesthetic of Glossier, this Boy Brow is just not meant for me. Meant for me in the way that I am not the aesthetic of Glossier. The Boy Brow is probably meant to be used in a already colored in brow to flick it a bit, to give it some shape, and to just maybe intensify the color a little bit. So when I now go through this with the Boy Brow, you see there is nearly nothing happening, and I extra for this video now skip the brow powder, because usually what I do is I basically create a base color with the brow pencil, and then I fill it in with a brow powder to intensify this. I have to say though that the difference between now this brow and this brow is clearly visible, but the color gray especially does not do it for me. I could have gotten a clear one too. That would be probably the same. And this is just not the intensity that I desire in a brow gel. For example, one of my current favorites are actually the ABH Brow Freeze Gel and the Rare Beauty Brow Gel. They give your brows a borderline crusty finish because they hold up your brows totally in place and forever. I do like the overall look with the Boy Brow, but This is a product that when it comes to the topic of would I repurchase this, I would much rather buy the full size of the ABH Brow Freeze Gel than the Glossier one again. And of course, this wouldn't be a Glossier video if we're not talking about the Balm.com. This is actually the reason why I bought from them, because I just saw that they brought back the OG formulation. I don't know what exactly happened at Glossier HQ, but fact, the vegan formulation was not popular amongst people. I cannot judge that. I haven't tried it, but I have the OG one, and the one that I've currently opened is actually lavender, but I also have strawberry and birthday, but I don't want to rip them open, so let's just look at them. And yes, this is messy. The applicator thing is so messy, and I don't know who would like to apply this with the applicator because it just is too much. This has the slightest lavender touch of color to it. Nothing intense enough actually to replace a gloss for me. So I actually use this back here on my computer. So whenever I sit there, I edit, I work for university. This is the lip balm that I just have sitting there to hydrate my lips, because when I get ready, I have the Nimya one. At work and in the office, I have some that I have from the pharmacy because I had super cracked lips in the winter and I needed them, and now I have it's still there, so I use it. And in my living room, I actually have the Glow Recipe Plum Plum Hyaluronic Lip Stuff. So basically everywhere where I am, I have somewhat of a lip balm floating around, and here it's actually the Glossier one. I like it. I hate the lavender scent. I, for whatever reason, was not really aware of the fact that it's mainly a scent thing, not so much a color. I expected a bit more intense color, but I basically just misunderstood the concept of the Balm.coms, but I'm not mad about this, honestly. I think this is very pretty. I like it. Again, the slightest hint of color. If you like to wear this on a daily basis, I think they're great for that. And they are, of course, very hydrating. They feel borderline velvety on the lips, which I personally like. Do I want to try more from Glossier? I don't know. The skincare, not really appealing to me. They're like hoodies and shit. Would never wear this. The perfume, no thank you. I don't know. The eyeshadow trios are my personal worst nightmare of makeup packaging, so that's a skip too. I am happy with what I have from Glossier. I had a bit higher expectations than it. How do I say this? Leave it like that. I had higher expectations. I love the cloud paints. They are, for me, the big winner, and honestly, this is probably the product I would like to go back now and pick up other shades. Aside from, I think there's like a peach or an orange, that not so much, but the others, the nude ones, pretty, very, very pretty. The concealer, I see myself using. I tested it now with very, very different powders and shade, and it just looked awesome. Same with the foundation. It is good, but it's not mind-blowing. I need a bit of your help now, because with the price discussion, I cannot judge that, because I saw on the Glossier subreddit that the price has increased apparently a lot. Is that true? Because I find 18 euro for a lip balm in a squeezy tube not that much. My favorite lip balm is by Fresh, and I think these little jars with 6 grams of product, they are over 20 euro. I don't know why I never checked before I say that. They are on Cold Beauty exactly 20 euro. The cloud paints are 27 euro a piece, and again, they come with 10 ml, so that's a fucking lot of product, so I think they are priced okay. What I find a bit overpriced actually is the foundation and the concealer. The foundation retails for 42 euro and the concealer for 27. So for 42 euro in a foundation, you can also buy an Estee Lauder one They are constantly on sale, and if you don't want to have like a double wear, get yourself the Futurist Hydra Rescue. It's also medium coverage, very buildable, very nourishing to the skin, and looks very nice. So honestly, 42 euro is just a bit too much. That's the price of a MAC foundation. Like, come on, you're Glossier, not MAC. I know it's a bit unfair maybe to compare the two products since they are very, very different in finish and in maybe also the catered audience, but again, I find it too much. Same with the concealer. 27 euro for a Balm concealer is just too much. What comes it in here? It doesn't say it. Oh, 4.8 gram. 4.8 fucking gram? Did I get a mini? The REM Pot Concealer. I know, weird comparison, but this comes with 8 gram, and I know this is around 20 euro. The Made by Mitchell Balm Concealer comes with 9 gram and is also less than 20. Natasha Denona comes with 7 milliliters, and this I think is around 40 euro. Honestly, I didn't check the grams before I made my thoughts about the price, but I was right. This is overpriced. So is this now a brand I recommend? Kinda yes, kinda no. I think with the Balm.coms you do not do anything wrong. If you want to get these, I recommend it. I think they feel awesome and they stay on with this nourishing feeling very, very long. The Cloud Paints, an absolute 10 out of 10. They are just in a good way being my top favorite liquid blush, which for the longest time have been the Rare Beauty ones, although I don't use them that often since I'm just testing so much Made by Mitchell currently, but they are absolutely amazing. The foundation and the concealer, more so the concealer, yes, the foundation, no. And the Boy Brow, I think it just depends on how do you style your brows, what do your brows need. My brows, because they're so invisible, they need the full shabazz, the full shebang, and so the Boy Brow just does not enough for me. If you want to shop some of these, I do have affiliate links down below. If you use them, thank you very much. You can save some money when you sign up to the newsletter on Glossier, so I do not have a code with them. I purchased everything by myself, but they have a newsletter option that will save you additional 15% even when you use like the little sets that I just mentioned. What do you think? Have you tried anything from Glossier? Am I missing something from the Glossier line? Like, for example, I know they have some lip products that I didn't test. Let me please know down below. Don't forget to subscribe, check out the info box, comment something. If you don't know what to comment, comment lip balm. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.